Sitting at my desk, I reminisced about the 30 years since our wedding, recalling our honeymoon and the fondest memories of my life. Reflecting on our cherished time in Hawaii with Maggie fills me with deep nostalgia and gratitude. It was an extraordinary, magical experience that will always hold a special place in my heart. From the start, it felt like we enchanted realm, washing away all worldly concerns and leaving a serene tranquility. Walking hand in hand along Waikiki's pristine beaches with gentle waves kissing our feet, we were captivated by the beauty around us. The fragrant scent of plumeria lingered in the air, a constant reminder of the romance and peace that surrounded us. Our honeymoon wasn't just about the breathtaking landscapes, it was the shared experiences that etched themselves into our souls. Exploring lush rainforests and discovering hidden waterfalls revealed the majesty of nature. Standing together, we marveled at the raw power and beauty around us. Our clifftop villa in Maui offered endless panoramic views. Every sunset was a masterpiece, painting the sky in vibrant hues. In those precious moments as we held each other close, our hearts overflowed with love and devotion. The nights were filled with romance, starting with candlelit dinners on the beach under a canopy of stars, savoring fresh seafood and island delicacies. But it was Maggie's tender gaze that truly made those evenings magical. Hawaii wasn't just a destination. It became the embodiment of our love story, filled with cherished memories and shared dreams. Thinking back on our honeymoon, I relived the beauty and depth of our connection. Hawaii fueled our love, strengthening our bond and bringing us unparalleled joy and peace. I'm sincerely grateful for the precious memories we created in that romantic oasis. Lost in thought, my secretary interrupted, noticing my good mood. She jokingly asked if I'd won the lottery. I explained that my wife had been especially attentive lately, making me feel appreciated and loved after years. It felt like a second honeymoon, and for the first time in years, I couldn't wait to be with her and couldn't stop thinking about her. For the past 2 weeks, I've called Maggie several times a day just to hear her voice, feeling like a lovesick teenager. But I didn't mind. I was happy again, and I didn't want it to end. Maggie and I share a sturdy marriage, yet over 30 years, the spark can dwindle into routine. However, these past 2 weeks have been different. Maggie's been playful, eager for closeness almost every night, and reviving past gestures. I never doubted this surge in affection as anything but a rejuvenation of our bond. Excitedly, I left work early, planning a romantic surprise for her. I bought 2 dozen roses, pinned a heartfelt note, picked up her favorite wine and a box of chocolate-covered cherries. Tonight, along with professing my love, I'll unveil the 7-night cruise I booked in celebration of our love. With a grin, I returned home through the garage, brimming with anticipation. Climbing the kitchen steps, instead of finding my beloved wife Maggie, I discovered our daughter Brandy, 29, at the table. Greeting her with a kiss on the forehead, I asked, "Hey there, where's Mom?" Just 2 weeks ago, they had a significant conversation. "Brandy, I'm not sure about this," Maggie confessed. "I love your dad very much, and I'm afraid that if I go through this, I'll hurt him." "Mom, Dad loves you, and he will understand," Brandy reassured. "You yourself said that you need something more than what you received before, and Dad is not getting any younger. I know that he will understand your needs and allow you to have this one-time pleasure." "Brandy, there's no way I can stand in front of your father and tell him I'm on a date with another man. I just can't do it," Maggie insisted. "Then let me do it," Brandy offered. "Alexander will be waiting for you at the restaurant at 7 in the evening, and you will be ready to leave by 6 in the evening when Dad gets home. I'll be here and explain everything to him, and you'll get the experience you crave." "Honey, yes, I agreed to this date, but I have doubts. This is wrong, and I shouldn't go. How will I be able to look your father in the eye for the next 2 weeks, knowing that I agreed to go on a date with another man?" Maggie expressed her concerns. "Well, I can suggest that you don't tell him anything, but during these 2 weeks, show him how much you love him. Let him know that he has nothing to worry about. And when I explain everything, he will understand that what you are doing is not about love, but only about new friendships and a little fun lovemaking. Reach out to him and rock his world. And when I explain the situation that evening, he will welcome you back with open arms. Believe me, Dad loves you and is ready to do anything for you. He always gave you what you wanted. Just like that. Brandy advised, showing his love for you. Mom, probably yes, and maybe you're right. Well, I mean, it's just one date, and it doesn't mean I'm leaving your father for another man. Having a fun night out 30 years later shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to show your dad how wonderful he is and how much I love him every night until date night. And then, when I get back to him, I'm going to try to make him the happiest man in the world. Maggie resolved. Mom, just make him feel loved and appreciated. He is a great guy and will give you this one-of-a-kind experience. Now I have to get home to cook dinner for Mike. Thanks, baby. And say hi to Mike. When will you two give us grandchildren? Brandy asked. Soon. We've already talked and plan to start working on it in a few months. Brandy replied. Before heading home, Maggie sat alone in the art studio Jason had built for her behind their house, in front of his latest project. Lately, she had been having difficulty being creative because the thought of being with another man weighed heavily on her. Guilt blocked her creativity until Maggie remembered Brandy's words, and suddenly her brushes came to life, covering the canvas with vibrant colors and emotional landscapes. Suddenly, she felt confident that she was doing the right thing for herself, and that her husband would give her this experience. She found herself talking to herself as she sat alone, feeling peace overcome her guilt. Jason may be angry at first, but I know I can make him understand. I truly love this man, and he was such a wonderful husband and father. I will be the best wife and show him how much I love him. On the initial night of my love-boosting plan, I slipped into his favorite baby doll nightgown post-shower, fixed my hair, and spent time on my makeup, meeting Jason at the door in the nightgown and heels. I whisked him to the bedroom, undressing him, and surprising him with a long-forgotten pleasure below the belt. Eagerly, his smile filled me with warmth, and I pondered why I hadn't done this sooner. His embrace and words of love sealed the moment. Maggie, that was the best homecoming in ages. What prompted it? Jason inquired. I just wanted to show you how special you are and how much I love you. Did you enjoy it? I asked. I did. It's been too long. I forgot how much I missed it. I felt content, he replied, pulling me onto the bed for passionate kisses. It was the best closeness we'd had in years, leading me to reconsider my date plans with Alexander. Over the ensuing weeks, our closeness soared, and Jason transformed. He was more joyful, affectionate, and engaging, reigniting our bond. I found myself happier than I'd been in ages and reconsidered my date night plans, even confiding in Brandy about the change. Maybe I didn't need that experience anymore as Dad and I found our spark again. This is wonderful, Mom, but hold off on canceling just yet. Let's see how the next 2 weeks unfold. Enjoy each other and re-evaluate later. You can always cancel last minute and Alexander will understand. But remember, this opportunity might not come again, Brandy advised. Okay, maybe you're right. Tell me more about Alexander. I recall he's your friend's father, but refresh my memory about his situation. I requested. Sure, Mom. When his wife Mary was diagnosed with an inoperable brain tumor, Alexander dedicated himself to her until her passing. He became a recluse afterward, battling depression and loneliness. He struggled with the idea of dating again, feeling lost without Mary. Brandy explained. As I listened to his story, I realized I might have a solution for both of you. Brandy continued. I told him about your enduring love for Dad and your desire to rejuvenate your relationship. We discussed the idea of a date not for a long-term romance, but to explore friendship and perhaps more, without abandoning Dad. When he laid eyes on your photo, his face lit up. He grinned and questioned, Do I really have a chance to take her out? Here's our chat, Mr. Connor. I promise. Once I show Mom your picture and tell her about you, she won't pass up this opportunity. But she's a bit older than you. Will that be an issue? Not at all. As long as she looks the same. I'd love to spend time with her. What about your dad? Will he be okay with her dating me? After all, she's his wife. Like I said, leave it to me. Dad will do anything to make Mom happy, and she needs it just as much as you do. I think you two can support each other and become good friends. Trust me, I'll handle everything. I'll talk to her, and if she's on board, I'll give you her number. Then you can plan a date and spend the night together. Nights? What do you mean? Mr. Connor, You're both adults. You both crave companionship. Get creative and plan an evening and night together. So he finds you attractive and wants to spend the night with you. If you're interested, I'll give him your cell number and tell him to call you during the day. He seems really nice and he's about 10 years younger than you. I know you'll be happy. He just needs someone to talk to and be friends with, and I believe you two can help each other. The following day, Alexander phoned Maggie, and after a delightful chat, he asked her to be his companion and spend the night with him. His compliments about her photo and the prospect of a date made her feel giddy like a schoolgirl. The thrill of something new and his playful banter gave her butterflies. She accepted the date eagerly, expressing her anticipation. While he offered to pick her up, she preferred to meet at the restaurant. They exchanged texts daily, their flirtation escalating as their date night drew near. On the eve of their rendezvous, Maggie's texts would have failed any fidelity test. She was consumed with excitement, envisioning the evening ahead. Despite her thoughts of Jason, she poured more energy into their lovemaking every night. Jason sported a perpetual grin, while Maggie harbored an insatiable craving for closeness, reaching a level of fulfillment exceeding her wildest dreams. I cherished my daughter, viewing her as the epitome of beauty. Proud of her evolution into the woman she is today, I lamented not spending more time with her during her formative years. Nevertheless, I toiled to provide them with a good life and endeavored to be there for her as much as possible. Upon spotting her, I greeted her with a smile tinged with embarrassment. "Darling, what brings you here? And where's your mother?" I inquired, placing 24 roses, a bottle of wine, and a box of chocolates on the table. "I have a special surprise for your mom tonight, and I can't wait to see her reaction." Reaching into my jacket pocket, I retrieved travel plans and tickets for a week-long cruise. "I'm whisking your mom away on a 7-day cruise aboard the new yacht, love. I'm eager to witness her joy when she learns about it. Don't breathe a word when she arrives. I want it to be a surprise. Dad." Her use of daddy always tugged at my heartstrings, evoking memories of her as a little girl nestled on my lap. But I sensed something amiss as tears welled in her eyes, and she struggled to catch her breath, clearly anxious about what I was about to hear. "Dad, we need to talk," she said, a tear slipping from her eye. Witnessing the concern on my face, I inquired, "What's wrong? Is something the matter with Mom?" "No, Mom's okay. Please, just sit down and I'll explain everything," she urged. I settled in, meeting her tearful gaze as she struggled to continue. After a pause, she began. "Dad, you know how much Mom loves you, and she's mentioned how great things have been between you two lately." "Yes, and I love her too. That's why I want to express my feelings for her now." Seeing her tears, I sensed that her words weren't unfolding as planned. "I'm really sorry, Daddy, but Mom has a date." I sat in silence, comprehending the words, but grappling with their significance. Her tears flowed as my mind connected the dots, stirring anger within me. "Brandy, what do you mean? Where's your mother?" I demanded, my voice booming, causing her to recoil in fear. "Mom loves you deeply, Daddy, and you might take this the wrong way, but she went on a date with someone else and won't be home until tomorrow. She couldn't bring herself to tell you, so I volunteered because she didn't want to hurt you. It's just one night, and she'll be back tomorrow." "What's this, a joke? You can't be serious. Your mother would never betray me like this. We were so loving and close." "I can't believe it," I exclaimed. "Dad, she loves you. She just needed to try something new." After 30 years of marriage, she felt restless and wanted more in life, just once. "Nothing will change between you except that she'll love you even more for understanding," my daughter reasoned. Studying her closely, I asked, "Brandy, why are you involved in this? Your mother shouldn't have brought you into it, and I should be discussing this with her, not you. How did she rope you into this?" "Dad, you know Mom and I have always been close. We share everything. She confided that things had slowed down between you two in the bedroom and she felt neglected. My friend's father lost his wife years ago. He was depressed and needed companionship, so I introduced them," she explained. I abruptly stood, knocking over a chair. "What, are you serious? You set your mother up on a date with your friend's father?" I demanded, pacing the kitchen in disbelief. "Damn it, Brandy. Answer me," I yelled, towering over her. Did you arrange this, my wife? Your mother is on a date with your friend's father because of you? Anger surged through me, spittle flying from my mouth. I'm really sorry, Daddy, but yes, it sounds bad when you put it that way, but I did it out of love for my friend's parents. She explained. Holy hell, what have you done? Love for your friend's parents? What about your love for me? Am I just some piece of trash you can disrespect and expect me to accept whatever you come up with? Where is she now? And what did you mean when you said she won't be home until tomorrow? I demanded. Daddy took her to a restaurant, I don't know which one, and then they'll spend the night together. But it's only this once. She'll be back tomorrow, and Daddy, she loves only you. All she's been telling me for the past 2 weeks is how much she loves you and doesn't want you to be hurt. It's just one date and one night. She knew you would understand and give her this one chance. Is that all? So foolishly I believed her recent affection was fueled by love, but now you're telling me it was just to assuage her guilt. Well, this won't end well, I assure you. I retorted, still in disbelief, tears streaming down her face. She pleaded, Dad, it's not like that at all. She never pretended or hurt you. On the contrary, she did everything possible to show you her love. Daddy, can't you just give her this one night? You know she loves you and can't imagine life without you. She told me she looks forward to your retirement and spending time with your grandchildren. Mike and I plan to have kids, and we need both of you. Well, isn't that incredibly unusual? That ship sailed the moment she agreed to go on a date with someone other than me. Who is this guy? I asked. He's my friend Mary's dad. He's really nice and I think you'll like him. Daddy, I believe you two have a lot in common. She replied. Oh, really? We could be great pals. So you think I could befriend a man who knowingly dates a married woman? My wife. Maybe we can become drinking buddies, and I can offer him your mom on the weekends. Is that what you and your mom have in mind for me? I retorted sarcastically. Brandy sank into her chair, realizing a serious flaw in her plan. She had never seen me so angry, or heard me speak to her like that. A shiver ran down her spine as she recoiled from my anger. After pacing around the room, I finally regained control of my emotions and turned to my daughter, speaking with a venomous tone she didn't want to hear anymore. My hurt and pain were evident, making her feel small and guilty for her role in the situation. Listen carefully, Brandy. I want you to leave now. I need to be alone to process what you two did to me tonight. I don't want to see or hear from you. Don't call me. Don't write. Ever. Your betrayal is unforgivable, and now I have no daughter. You are dead to me. Do you understand what this means? I'm no longer your father, and I don't have a daughter. Now get out of my house and never speak to me again, I declared sternly. Brandy sobbed openly, her head in her hands. Dad, please don't say that. I love you, and I want to stay here tonight. Mom and I planned for me to stay with you. We don't want you to be alone. The level of disrespect you've shown me makes me question if you ever respected or loved me as your father. You're your mother's daughter. All these years, I worked tirelessly to provide you and your mother with a better life, and this is the gratitude I get. No, it turns out I'm only here as a meal ticket, and I've obviously never earned any respect from either of you. I concluded bitterly. Between tears and sobs, she uttered, Dad, I love you. Please, refrain from saying that. Leave it to your mom to explain everything tomorrow. You've had 30 wonderful years together, and I know you love her. Give her just one thing, and she won't leave you. Daddy, she loves you. She may have her one thing, 2 things, or 1,000 things, but she will never have me again. Forgiveness is beyond my capabilities. Everyone involved will be punished, including the lonely man who took my wife, a married woman. Now go away. You showed your true colors, but you still have your mother. Nothing will change for you. You two are made for each other. Like I said, Brandy, in my heart, you are no longer my daughter. Now, please leave me. With tears streaming down her face in agony, she literally ran out of the house, experiencing a pain she had never felt before. She never anticipated her father's reaction would be like this. Had he truly forsaken her? For the first time, she realized she might have overstepped a boundary by aiding her mom with this idea. Knowing he loved them both, she could see his anger clearly. No, he was furious, and she prayed he would forgive them. Immediately after Brandy departed, I dialed Maggie's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I left several messages pleading for her to call me and come home. After a few drinks and no response, I sent numerous text messages with the same plea. Still, there was no reply. By 2 o'clock in the morning, it dawned on me that she wouldn't return or answer my calls. Exhausted from self-pity, I simply stared at the TV, which was broadcasting more bad news. In an instant, my world transformed into a nightmare. I reflected on our 3 decades of marriage, recalling the fond memories. The birth of our daughter, the joyous celebrations, Brandy's wedding, and the close bond we shared. All now seemed lost forever. Before her infidelity, Maggie and I maintained closeness 2 to 3 times a week, albeit routine and less thrilling than in our youth. Yet there were no grievances. Post-coitus, we always embraced and drifted off to sleep in each other's arms. I love you was a daily exchange, and disagreements were rare. Gazing out the window, my eyes settled on the art studio I constructed for Maggie to nurture her passion. For 2 decades, she devoted herself to crafting remarkable paintings and sculptures, earning accolades displayed in the studio-turned-gallery I crafted to showcase her achievements. It became her sanctuary, a testament to her artistic prowess. While I adored her, I often felt relegated to a distant third in her priorities, behind our daughter and her art. Regardless, her happiness was paramount to me. Brandy's revelation rattled me to the core. The disclosure of her desire to seek closeness elsewhere blindsided me. A betrayal delivered through our daughter that stoked my fury and humiliation. Amidst my turmoil, I contemplated my life, my home, and the uncertain future ahead. My ancestral home, passed down from my grandfather, stood free of mortgage and stirred thoughts of vengeance in my inebriated mind. Fueled by anger and hurt, I pondered ways to inflict reciprocal pain upon Maggie. As I continued to peer out at her sanctuary, a surge of resolve coursed through me. With newfound vigor, I leapt from the couch, replacing sorrow with action. Over a dozen trips to our bedroom ensued, as I gathered Maggie's belongings and relocated them to her studio. Expensive shoes, dresses, clothes, jewelry, all now strewn across the floor of her artistic refuge. For the next hour, I scoured the house for photo albums, including our wedding mementos, stacking them atop the burgeoning pile. She had vacuum-sealed belongings in the attic. Among them lay her wedding gown, infant garments, and numerous sentimental items, all of which I hauled down into the growing heat, now towering over a meter high. It's astonishing how much one person accumulates over the years. Removing all her framed photographs from the walls, I added them to the stack. Sculptures, sketches, and every cherished possession she held dear were amalgamated into this mounting pile of belongings. As the clock struck 5 in the morning, I remained on edge, resolving to refrain from action until 6 a.m. I afforded her an opportunity to return home or respond to my calls and messages. Should I receive no reply or find her absent, I vowed to complete what I had started. Rechecking the house, I ensured every item of hers was now housed in the studio. At 5:30, I retrieved a 20-liter canister of gasoline from the garage and made my way to the studio, preparing for 6 a.m. in the interim. I conducted online transactions, canceling joint credit cards, transferring funds to separate accounts, withdrawing cash from the safe, and packing a few suitcases. These I loaded into my truck, anticipating my temporary departure until legal matters were resolved. Waiting another 5 minutes for her potential return, by 6:05 my last glimmer of hope extinguished. I doused the pile and studio walls with gasoline. With a heavy sigh and brief hesitation, I made my fateful decision, igniting the heap with a lit match. The flames rapidly consumed her treasures, their glow already visible from the street before I could depart. The flames swiftly engulfed her world and everything dear to her. Driving down the highway, a sudden realization hit me, accentuated by my dire state. A profound sorrow washed over me, tears streaming down my face. In that moment, it dawned on me that my once blissful marriage had met the same fate as the studio. It had burned to the ground. What caught me off guard was the fires spread from the studio to the back porch, igniting both structures. Fortunately, Firefighters managed to douse the blaze in the studio and contain the flames on the porch, salvaging the house. However, the residence suffered extensive smoke damage and was rendered uninhabitable until repairs were completed. Amidst the chaos, I checked into a highway motel roughly 90 miles away from the smoldering remains of my marriage, paying with cash. I was determined not to be found until I could gather my thoughts, opting for cash to avoid leaving a trail if the authorities pursued me. Fueled by adrenaline, I remained wide awake until I entered my room. Switching off my phone, I collapsed onto the bed, slipping into a deep slumber and only awakening at noon. As soon as I powered on my phone, it lit up with notifications. I found dozens of missed calls and texts from Brandy, Maggie, and the sheriff. Upon exiting the Uber, I rendezvoused with Alexander at the restaurant. A mix of nervousness and excitement coursing through me as I beheld the sight of this attractive young man awaiting me at the reception desk. A smile graced his lips as he noticed my admiration of my little black dress, complemented by black sheer tights and matching high heels. His gaze lingered on my revealed cleavage, accentuated by the black bra peeking through. Earlier in the day, I had spent hours at the salon ensuring my hair and makeup were flawless, determined to make this one-time encounter thrilling, unforgettable, and flawless for him. My companion seemed pleased with the sight before him, his growing manhood subtly adjusting to his reaction. Bolstered by his apparent approval, my confidence soared as I greeted him with a tender kiss. As we exchanged greetings, we migrated to the bar, settling onto bar stools, where I caught him stealing glances at my nylon-clad legs down to my underwear as I rose. Our mutual smiles persisted as he placed our drink order. Deciding to silence my phone to avoid any distractions, I resolved to savor every moment of this unique evening, recognizing its fleeting nature. There was a palpable chemistry between us, and our rapport felt akin to that of old friends. I found myself lightly touching his arm and engaging in flirtatious banter, behaviors I rarely indulged in, even with Jason. But tonight, I was determined to embrace my inner confidence and relish in the experience. As we polished off our second glass, the gracious hostess announced our table was ready and ushered us to our seats. Dinner was delightful, and I relished our conversation and shared time. When he inquired if I still desired to spend the night with him, I slipped off my heels and teasingly slid my foot between his legs. His gaze lingered on my red toenails, peeking through the sheer nylon, eliciting a smile as he declared it was time to depart. Hand in hand, he guided me to his prearranged hotel room. As the elevator ascended to the 14th floor, the gravity of the situation struck me, and fleeting thoughts of Jason flooded my mind. Sensing my apprehension, he drew me close to his sturdy frame. Meeting his gaze, I was met with a passionate kiss unlike any I had experienced before. That moment was all it took to cast aside thoughts of my husband and marriage. Tonight, I was his, fully embracing the experience. Once inside the room, he wasted no time in unzipping my dress, allowing it to cascade to the floor before disrobing himself. Spinning me around, he praised my allure, then deftly removed my bra and guided me to the bed. The passage of time became a blur as the encounter unfolded, each moment suffused with sensuality and tenderness, leaving me yearning for more. Falling to my knees, I lavished attention on his exquisite form. After several moments, unable to resist any longer, he fervently removed my pantyhose and insisted I don my heels again, confessing their allure heightened his desire. Amidst our lovemaking, he peppered me with passionate kisses, displaying an expertise that left me awestruck. Fleetingly, I entertained thoughts of introducing similar passion to Jason, but quickly pushed such comparisons aside. His unwavering gaze met mine as he uttered the unexpected words, "I love you, Maggie," a declaration that stirred my soul. It felt akin to a divine revelation, evoking tears of pure joy. We engaged in lovemaking 4 more times throughout the night, and once more in the morning, each encounter as passionate as the last. It stood out as the most incredible, carnal experience of my life, and I commended myself for allowing it with Alexander. Thoughts of Jason started to intrude, but I endeavored to focus on the man embracing me tightly. Bathed in the morning sunlight filtering through the curtains, we shared tender kisses, his fingers gently caressing my hair. Maggie, as I mentioned last night, I was sincere. You're an extraordinary woman, so alluring and sensual, and I believe I'm falling in love with you. Can we see each other again? Suddenly, apprehension gripped me, and I sought to be delicate. Alexander, it was an extraordinary experience, and you're a kind, wonderful man. However, I'm happily married, and I can't repeat it. It was a one-time event. I cherished it, and you were amazing. You're a fantastic lover, and every moment was enjoyable. Maggie, please think it over before you decline. Your husband doesn't appear to object, and if you allow this to continue, I can bring you great happiness. Just consider it before saying no. Please. All right, yes, I'll consider it. With another deep kiss, he held me close, and I surrendered to his embrace. If I weren't married to Jason, I'd be with Alexander in an instant. Yet Jason is my husband, and I hoped he could forgive me for my actions. Following breakfast, we departed the hotel, and as he drove me home, I switched on my phone for the first time since our date the previous night, stunned by the multitude of missed calls and texts. Seeing Jason's message, a pang of guilt pierced my heart. This dear man was in anguish, and I was absent. Tears welled in my eyes, realizing I had caused his suffering. Before I could proceed to the next text, the phone rang as Alexander pulled into my neighborhood. Mom, where are you? Hey, sweetie, I'm almost back home. Mom, there was a fire at the house. We tried calling you all night, but it seems you turned off your phone. Fire? Where's your dad? That's the thing, Mom. He's missing. Nobody knows where he is, and he's not picking up calls either. I have a bad feeling. Mom, I'm almost there. I'll call you back. As Alexander turned onto my street, I spotted a fire truck and police vehicles outside our house. Noticing no visible damage at the front, I inquired with the firefighters about the situation. Are you the homeowner? One of them asked, as curious neighbors eyed me standing beside an unfamiliar handsome man, my companion. Yes, I'm Maggie Spencer. Well, Mrs. Spencer, we managed to salvage the house. Only the rear porch suffered damage. However, you won't be able to stay here until professionals clean up the smoke residue inside. The cottage at the back, unfortunately, couldn't be saved. My legs gave way, and Alexander supported me, guiding me to sit on the curb. Is she destroyed? I'm sorry, Mrs. Spencer, but all that remains are charred remains. We'll investigate the cause of the fire, but for now, the police detective has a few inquiries for you. I hurriedly rose and headed towards the back of the house before Sergeant Wilson could interrogate me. He caught up as I stood before the remnants of my cherished sanctuary. Instantly, I suspected Jason's hand in this. A retaliatory act for my indiscretions. Mrs. Spencer, do you have any idea what happened here? Inquired Sergeant Wilson. No, I wasn't here last night, and I'm clueless about what transpired. I replied. Are you her husband? He redirected his question to Alexander. No, just a friend. He answered. A blush crept up my face as the sergeant cast a knowing glance and inquired about my husband's whereabouts. I told you, I don't know. When pressed about my own location last night, I timidly admitted to being with Alexander at the Hilton Hotel downtown. The scrutinizing looks from the sergeant and his assistant underscored the gravity of my situation. I had just confessed to not spending the night with my husband, who had also vanished. Now the detective had more questions. Mrs. Spencer, are you and your husband separated? Do you know where he was last night? No, we're happily married, I insisted, only to realize the absurdity after disclosing my nocturnal escapade. Do you have any idea of his whereabouts? No, he's not answering calls. We'll need to speak with him, so when you do, please provide him with my contact information, he instructed, handing me his card. Anger and fear surged within me. Anger at the loss of my sanctuary and years of labor. Everything gone in an instant. Fear at the thought of Jason's potential rage and its implications for our marriage. I needed to reach him urgently. I dialed Brandy's number. Brandy, have you heard from your dad? No, I haven't spoken to him since yesterday evening. Why didn't you stay with him as planned? Mom, he kicked me out and disowned me, she revealed. Those words sent a shiver down my spine. Jason would never utter such words, and if he did, it would be far worse than I could fathom. Upon entering the house, I was met with smoke-damaged walls and a foul odor pervading our once cozy home. It was clear we couldn't stay here in such conditions. I surveyed the house and decided to gather clothes and personal items for a few days. In the bedroom, I found everything missing and panicked. My clothes, shoes, and belongings were gone. My heart sank as I searched for my wedding rings on the nightstand. None were there. Why had I left them? What was I thinking? If Jason saw them missing, he must have assumed the worst about our marriage. How foolish and selfish of me. In a panic, I scoured every room, realizing all my possessions were gone. A dreadful realization struck me. Had he truly destroyed everything? Was there nothing left? I rushed out of the house and returned to the studio, examining the remnants closely. Amidst the debris, I spotted photo frames and partially damaged clothing. It was evident Jason hadn't taken my day out as expected, but had obliterated everything dear to me, severing me from his life in one swift blow. I called Brandy in tears and recounted what had occurred, expressing my need for a place to stay. Brandy. Alexander promptly offered his place, but he was the last person I wanted to see. I insisted on being alone and asked him to leave, hurting him with my abruptness. In that moment, anger swelled within me, directed both at myself and the man I had spent the night with. I recognized my wrongdoing, but unfairly placed blame on him for my selfish betrayal, when it was clearly my fault. Brandy, I've lost your dad. I sobbed. Mom, please don't say that. She pleaded. Dad loves you, Mom. She reassured. He burned everything. My clothes, paintings, my studio, all gone. He left me with nothing, not even a place to stay. He won't answer my calls. I hurt him the most and I don't blame him. What I did is unforgivable. I should have talked to him instead of going on that date. We could have worked things out, but my selfishness drove him away. If I were in his shoes, I'd never take me back. What should I do now? I have nowhere to go, no clothes. Subs by www.zarranger. Company UK. Mom, don't blame yourself. It's partly my fault. You can stay with us until your house is fixed today. We'll buy new clothes and get you settled tonight. Brandy offered. Brandy, all my paintings and sculptures are gone. 30 years of marriage and 20 years of my work destroyed, and I'm left alone. I lamented, attracting the attention of neighbors passing by. Oh my God, your dad's calling. I'll call you back. Struggling to answer the call, I nearly collapsed, but just managed to connect. Jason, is that you? I asked breathlessly. Hi, Maggie, how are you? Jason, where are you? Please come home. I pleaded. No, Maggie. I know everything from your daughter. Yes, your daughter, not mine. You're both dead to me. And this may be the last time we talk. Jason, no, please don't say that. I love you. You need to know this. I begged. Jason, the studio is gone. Did you do this? He demanded. Maggie, you did it. Not me. Maybe not physically, but you incinerated it with your betrayal. When I saw your wedding rings discarded, and you gave yourself to another, you died in my heart. Your actions are unforgivable, and Brandy's involvement is shameful and incomprehensible. We're finished. I'll see my lawyers on Monday to start the process. Please, Jason, can't we talk and work things out? You can't just discard our 30 wonderful years like this. I implored. Maggie, we're talking, and I'm not the one discarding our 30 wonderful years. You planned to betray me, gave me 2 weeks of amazing love to ease your guilt, then cheated with your daughter's help. No one could accept or forgive such treachery. It was pure evil. I hope you regret it for the rest of your pathetic life. This is our last conversation. Contact my attorney for anything further. Goodbye, Maggie. Jason. Hold on. Jason. Jason had vanished, taking with him the world I cherished and loved. Brandy arrived just as I was desperately calling Jason, who had already ended the call. We embraced, tears streaming down our faces as we mourned our loss. Eventually, we realized we couldn't stay amidst the wreckage of what was once our home. While authorities investigated the fire, we needed to regroup, so we headed to Brandy's house. Upon arrival, Brandy recounted the entire ordeal to Mike, who was taken aback by her explanation. Brandy attempted to explain everything, But when Mike discovered that his wife had arranged a date for her mother with a friend's father, he was appalled and furious. His anger flared. "Brandy, you set up a date for your mother with another man. And worse, you knew your father would be alone. You should have known he wouldn't stand for it. What kind of man would allow his wife to go out with someone else? Is this what you envisioned for our future? Will you willingly betray me like your mother did to your father? He was a good man. You and your mom were his whole world. What have you done, Brandy? Let me tell you. You've shattered a good man and pushed him to extremes. I can't express how disappointed I am in you. I'll reach out to him and apologize for your thoughtlessness, but we also need to talk about us. Having children with you is on hold until I figure out where your values lie. I'll be blunt, I don't share them, and I won't tolerate such betrayal." She was taken aback by his anger and dismayed by his lack of understanding of her mother's predicament. It was just one date after 30 years of marriage, for heaven's sake. So what? Later she realized the real issue was the collapse of her parents' marriage, her father's departure, and her mother's shattered happiness. Soon, they would all face the consequences of her actions. 5 days later, I returned home to assess the damage. Opting against an insurance claim to avoid additional costs, I informed the lawyer that the house was solely mine, not part of the settlement. Maggie could receive half our savings and no child support. If she resisted, I'd file for infidelity, exposing her affair with our daughter's friend's father. Divorce papers were filed, and I inquired about a criminal arson lawyer, but realized criminal prosecution was unlikely without an insurance claim. In the worst case, fines might be issued, but no charges would proceed unless a false report was filed. A neighbor, acquainted with Brandy from school, called her when she saw me return. Brandy rushed over as I inspected the damage. Hearing her enter, I focused on the task, glancing at the ashes that once housed Maggie's studio. Brandy found me in a bedroom, embracing me tightly. "Daddy, I'm so sorry. Please forgive us. We love you." "Brandy, I can't forgive either of you. I told you not to speak to me again. Now leave me be." "No, you're my father, and you have to forgive me. I'm your daughter, and you love me." "Listen, I have no daughter anymore. Just a woman who broke my heart. Leave me alone." "Dad, Mom needs you. She's with us, misses you terribly, and wants to apologize. Will you come over?" "Never." Our marriage ended the moment she went on that date and left her wedding rings. It's over, and I won't speak to her. You can both contact me through my lawyer. I'll get a new phone and number. But for now, leave and be with your mother. Are you really ending 30 years of marriage? No. Your mother did that when she took off her rings and went to her lover. You both destroyed my happiness, and I won't forget or forgive. Get out." Brandy left in tears, devastated by her father's disownment. His words cut deep, leaving a lasting pain that no therapy could heal. The following day, Maggie received divorce papers and was overwhelmed realizing her marriage ended due to her infidelity. She attempted to reconcile, sought counseling, and tried talking to Jason, but he remained silent toward her and Brandy. Mike eventually reached Jason, expressing his dismay at the girl's actions. He reconsidered having children due to doubts about Brandy's loyalty and involvement in the affair. Mike couldn't imagine living with someone with such values and is now in couples counseling to salvage their marriage. Maggie hoped to return to the rebuilt house, but the divorce decree awarded it to Jason. She received half their savings and $3,000 monthly child support for 10 years, which he had no intention of paying. Maggie must find employment to support herself, a 30-year marriage. She eventually relocated from her daughter's apartment to a small one-room flat near the city center where she secured employment at a small art gallery as a sales agent to make ends meet. Maggie's artistic freedom faced a sudden threat. No longer could she devote all her time to the splendid studio crafted by Jason, nor could she sit amid her art projects, savoring the serene lake view through the expansive panoramic windows gifted by her husband. Soon, work consumed her schedule, leaving little time to recreate the life she once knew. Gone were the days of leisure, along with her opulent and contented marriage, all for one exhilarating night with another man. There were never enough tears to erase the agony and remorse from that one-time affair. Knowing her beloved husband Jason would never speak to her again, especially after disowning their daughter, shattered her heart. Brandy spiraled into a deep depression following her parents' divorce, seeking solace and salvaging her crumbling marriage through therapy. Months later, the house was restored, and Jason continued to fulfill the court-mandated compensation. Without forewarning, he sold the house. Following the sale, Maggie approached him, seeking reconciliation and forgiveness. When she pressed the doorbell, a young couple welcomed her as they opened the door. "Hello? How can we assist you?" the woman inquired. "Yes, I'm seeking Jason Spencer. He's here." "Oh, the kind man who sold us this house." "No, he mentioned he was leaving the country for a fresh start. He was incredibly pleasant and helpful." "Are you Maggie, by any chance?" "Yes, that's me. He left an envelope and instructed us to give it to you if you ever came by." "Thank you. I'll read it later. Best wishes and enjoy this lovely home." Maggie sat in the car, tears streaming down her face, realizing she'd never encounter Jason again and lamenting the love she had recklessly discarded. Returning to her solitary apartment, she sat on the bed, her hand trembling as she unfolded the letter. "Maggie, 30 remarkable years. I'll forever cherish the beautiful life we shared. You were my first and only love. I deeply regret not fulfilling my role as your husband. Had I known you needed more, I would have moved mountains for you. But since you've chosen to forge your path alone, that's how our marriage will conclude. Alone. Those 2 wonderful weeks leading up to your betrayal, I actually believed you had rekindled your love for me. They were the happiest weeks of our entire marriage. Learning from Brandy how you used those weeks to divert my attention from your betrayal shattered my soul. I'm certain your daughter has already informed you, but that night I was thrilled to come home and give you a special evening with 24 roses, your favorite chocolates, and wine. I planned to surprise you with a yacht cruise. Love, discovering that your affection and admiration were insincere, and your true aim was to be with another man, left me utterly humiliated. Congratulations, you've destroyed me and our marriage. Because of this, I can't stay in this city any longer. I've resigned from my job and started a new life in another country. Don't bother looking for me, as I'll be off the grid. I have no desire to speak to you or your daughter anymore. This chapter of my life is closed, and I'm embarking on a new journey without you. It'll take me years to recover from the pain and betrayal you both inflicted. I couldn't bear to stay in our beautiful home without the love of my life and our wonderful daughter. Since you're both dead to me now, I have no reason to remain here. I sincerely hope your special night was worth our marriage and my love. I suspect it was. I'm certain you and your daughter will relish sharing stories. Have a happy life. And please, forget about me and our years together, as I already have. My new life has already begun without you." Maggie believed she had no tears left, but after reading his letter, she cried uncontrollably all night, curled up in a ball. The excitement and memories of her encounter with Alexander faded into regret and sadness. Now 52 and alone, she foresaw a bleak future without Jason. She traded her luxurious life for one night of selfish thrill. Jason confronted Alexander late at night as he was departing for Ecuador. Pushing into the house, Jason introduced himself as Maggie's husband, accusing Alexander of stealing her. Despite Alexander's attempts to explain, Jason refused to accept any excuses. His pent-up anger and pain were unleashed on the man before him. Their exchange was brief as Jason wielded a crowbar. In less than a minute, Alexander's life changed forever. Before departing for the airport and leaving the country, Jason warned him. "I offer advice, idiot. Sleeping with a married woman is detrimental to your health." By the time Alexander reached the ER and informed the police, Jason was already on his way to a new life in Ecuador, free from his past burdens and family. It took detectives 2 weeks to ascertain Jason's departure and realize they couldn't pursue him until his return, with no extradition from Ecuador for assault charges. Alexander endured agonizing weeks in the hospital and months in physical therapy, adjusting to his new reality with reconstructed knees. The 25 stitches on his face would forever remind him of that fateful night with a married woman. Uncertain of his future, he knew his former life was irretrievably lost. Because of those 2 women who encouraged him to pursue another man's wife, he cut ties with Maggie and Brandy completely. Brandy's husband, Mike, almost ended their marriage over the incident. However, with the help of a psychologist, Brandy came to terms with her actions, vowing to remain faithful to Mike and their future family. Mike waited 2 years before agreeing to have children, ensuring his wife's commitment to fidelity. Honoring his promise and her remorse, Jason ceased all communication with Brandy. Through her actions, she permanently severed ties with her father and his affection. Hearing about Alexander's assault, Maggie and Brandy were devastated, feeling accountable for the attack and amplifying the guilt and anguish they inflicted on Jason and their family's ruin. It served as another stark reminder of the far-reaching consequences of their actions. For more stories, visit nisecret.org. Unbeknownst to them, they both realized that their naive belief that if only Jason had granted Maggie that one night their blissful life would have endured was misguided. Their folly shattered any semblance of happiness. The loss of their father and husband inflicted a lasting pain they would carry until their final days. Hindered by depression and advancing age, Maggie never found another partner, leading a desolate, sorrowful existence. Their dreams of a joyful twilight with Jason and their grandchildren became a distant memory, especially since Jason ceased child support as soon as he left the country. Her savings won't last long, and she'll have to continue working to survive. Crying in her sleep became her usual activity. After selling my house and using my savings accumulated over 3 decades, I now possess more than $750,000. Deducting the cost of my new apartment, this substantial sum ensures comfort and tranquility for the next 30 years here in Ecuador. In this country, I've encountered many young, attractive women who appreciate the generosity of an American man, and I relish spending time with them. 6 months following that fateful night, I found myself on the beach in Puerto Lopez, sipping a cold beer in front of my new apartment. It dawned on me that divorce is a natural occurrence, and parting ways is acceptable. Being alone is okay. What's not acceptable is remaining in a situation where one is neither valued nor cherished. This will never be my reality again.